Little Women from 2019, the one that Greta Gerwig directed, with the all-star cast starring Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, Meryl Streep, Timothy Chalamet, a bunch of people. Most people know what Little Women is about, but I'll quickly read the synopsis. Jo March reflects back and forth on her life, telling the beloved story of the March sisters, four young women, each determined to live life on her own terms. I watched this movie like right when it came out, and given I was such a big fan of Lady Bird, which to me, of its year, I think it's probably a perfect film, and what a smashing debut. So I was really excited about what Greta does next, and especially on a larger scale and with this all-star cast. I don't really have a big association with the Little Women sort of franchise or property, if you will. Like a lot of people probably grew up watching the movies or grew up reading the book and what have you. I didn't have any of that. I think I'd seen the Katharine Hepburn version, but that's sort of it. So I watched it and just completely was swept by that feeling that we just talked about. And it's not a holiday movie at all. I mean, there's a Christmas scene, a famous one where they're all getting ready with the family to have this great Christmas brunch. And then the mother in this movie, played by Laura Dern, says that there's so many unfortunate people out there who don't have this. So the entire family goes out to the shelter where they basically give away all their breakfast treats and such to make other people's and the more unfortunate people's Christmas better, which is such a moving moment. And it captures the coziness in a literal but also in a metaphorical sense of what life is about, which really sticks out to me. But I think the reason I put this movie on the list, in addition to that cozy feeling, is I think the time of the holidays is also a time of reflection of what the year has been. Where do I want to go in the new year? You're taking stock of your life. And I think there's something amazing about this story, and especially as portrayed in this version, where each of those four girls or little women, they have their own kind of ethos and what they care about. Like Jo wants to be a writer. Amy wants to have a good life where she has money, and she's very kind of set that money is power, and you got to sort of figure out, how you're going to get to that place, which is satisfying. So I think that's the other part that resonates with me, with sort of just reflecting on what do you want the new year to be. And I've just walked out of this movie feeling very reassured in that sense. And since then, I've watched it many, many times, all throughout the year for those specific feelings. Obviously, great performances by everybody, a brilliant screenplay and directorial choice for Greta Gerwig to have this sort of non-linear back and forth timeline, which I know bothered some people, because people who grew up with the other movies, they're used to a very sort of straightforward linear storytelling, versus I think this movie does something really clever with how it shows the sisters at various times in their lives and weaves this kind of warm blanket for you. So beautifully done. And the last thing I would say is that I watched this movie with Robert, who I've now been in a relationship with for like 2 years. And we were just starting to see each other at that time. And I had seen the movie once before by myself, and then I took him to watch it again. And I just looked from the corner of my eye, and he was, shedding a few tears at certain scenes of the movie. And it sort of goes back to what we were saying earlier of being in the holiday season and not having, that kind of partnership or what have you in your life. And so this movie, I kind of look back at this movie, it kind of turned the corner on that feeling, that I felt like now I had somebody who was, my person and was appreciating a movie that I cared about as well. And so, yeah, it sort of made it extra special. So that's, Little Women from 2019, my number 2.
Wow. So I am familiar with Little Women, the franchise. I'd seen the original, or not the original, the Winona Ryder version in the 90s. And I've not seen this version yet, actually. So I can't comment on the specific film, but it's interesting. Like, as you were talking about Little Women, I did assume I would sort of associate this with as a holiday film kind of too. I don't know why. Maybe like the poster of the 90s version was like snow, and might have even came out because I saw it in the theaters around the holiday time, like Thanksgiving or Christmas. But yeah, I think you hit on the themes actually as you were talking more through it of what the book and then the various film adaptations have captured around that time of reflection, which I definitely do associate for sure with end of the year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year's. That this is sort of the time, as the year ends, goes on to the new one, you do look back on the previous year or back on yourself a little bit more. And I think that this movie, this story does a lot of that really well. The question then is this, so is it this version that you feel you really capture that better than the other ones? I know you said you might have seen one other version of this story. Were you familiar with it before you'd seen this version?
Yeah, I'd seen the Catherine Hepburn one, right? So yeah, I think there's something special about the way the story is told, like I was saying, with the nonlinear narrative, the performers, how the whole scene is set up. I think it has it. I'll tell you why. I think even though this movie is a period piece, obviously, there is something about the way Greta tells the story and the way the characters are created that it feels really modern. Like it feels like a movie that was made today about people today, living their lives today. So that's the deftness, I think, of this movie, that it's timeless, but also very, very contemporary, because the themes that it's talking about are very much present today. They always have been. In fact, that's the point. And it, from the score to the movement of the camera to how the landscape and such is all set up, it doesn't feel stodgy at all, and which is sort of what a lot of period films can sometimes feel, which I also love. But I think this movie feels like a modern, fast-paced movie, and I think that's why it connects the way it does.
Yeah, no, I've been meaning to watch this ever since it came out, actually, and definitely now we'll try to before the end of the year. As you are right, like I associated Little Women with holidays. It definitely, I think, captures a lot of the things that I associate with the holidays. So try to check it out in the next month and a half.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.